Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for yet another live stream. I hope that you're all doing okay, and you and your family were not adversely affected um, via the passing of Hurricane Beryl and other rains that would have affected the island. I just hope that everyone is okay. Firstly, condolences to anyone who has lost a family member during this tragic time. I know that we live in a tropical country, and sometimes we are affected by the rains and stuff like that. So I hope everyone is okay. My thoughts to the persons who are living in St. Elizabeth, Clarendon, Manchester, and those parishes that were adversely affected. And I hope that you know normalcy will be restored in short order, and everything will be okay. Going forward. I mean, we have some other depressions that are out there. We're hoping that once again Jamaica is spared from the harm that befalls us whenever we have hurricanes and other natural disasters. So just wishing everyone is okay and doing well. Good evening again and welcome to another live interview. We haven't done one in a while. This evening interview is going to be an interesting one. We'll be interviewing Mr. Paul Maxwell. Many people know him as the leader, one of the premier, scouts here in Jamaica locally. Has done a lot of work with national teams, Premier League clubs, prominent schoolboy football schools or teams, both in the Manning and the Costa Cup. And I've recruited players for clubs. There are players that have moved from certain clubs to other clubs, which many people are not aware that Mr. Maxwell is involved in that process. And so, we want to take the opportunity to give him a chance to share his story about his journey in the Jamaican football landscape, how it started, where, how his path has been and where he's at now. So, yeah, firstly, before I bring in Mr. Maxwell, big up to the persons who check in: S Technic, Tennessee, Mr. United, Safe Hands, and Dre Any Other Sports. Respect for checking in, and let's get started. So we're gonna bring in Mr. Maxwell now. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, man. Good? All the connection? Good? Everything okay?
Yeah, everything is good. I trust that all is well with you. I think I'm
yeah, man. All okay. Is it on my part or your part?
I think it's on your side, because
when you talk, give me a minute. Okay, hold on. Give me a minute. Let me make a little move and see if it's the router, okay? Just go and get 2 seconds.
No problem. Yeah, so Mr. Maxwell is having some technical difficulties there. So he'll be back soon. So on to some other news now. Yeah, Dre, we're getting a delay, bro. I told him, probably it's his internet. So he's gonna find a different spot. So far, we have had some news coming into the football circle from a Jamaican perspective. I see where Bobby Reid has signed a contract with Leicester City. Leicester City, as you know, we have had a few reggae boys who have played for that club. Most noticeably, Wes Morgan won the Premier League with Leicester, Reggae Boy International. So they have signed Bobby Reid on a 3-year contract. He left Fulham as a free agent. Another Reggae Boy, Jamal Lowe, joined Sheffield Wednesday. M10, big up, bro. Joined Sheffield Wednesday. He was released by Bournemouth as well. So he picked up a contract in the Championship. So we're looking forward to see what's next for the other Reggae boys. Locally, I heard that the JPL is supposed to start in the first week of September. So let's see what will happen there. The local transfer window has officially opened on July 1st. 7 days in, I haven't gotten any real news as to movements of players. As you know, Chapelton Maroons and Racing would have been promoted to the Premier League. Chapelton was here before, and Racing is their first time in the Premier League, so we hope that they'll be able to do some good things in the Premier League. Other movements as well. We heard that there are some players that are training with Arnett Gardens, so it should be interesting. So yeah, interesting times ahead in the football world in Jamaica. I think Mr. Maxwell is back. You ready now?
Okay, how is it now? Everything good? Seems so.
Yeah,
Seems so.
It's good on my end.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, okay. So let's get started, Mr. Maxwell, sir. I guess I'm still getting a feedback. I don't know. Are you listening to the show? Or
Get back.
I think Mr. Maxwell is having some feedback issues.
Hold on. Feedback is still there. I need to know.
I'm good now.
Feedback
Tell
still
there,
there.
Mr. Maxwell.
You're good now.
I'm good enough. I'm good now.
Everything should be okay now. You should be good now.
Yeah. Yes, it's good now. It's good now. Okay. All right. So firstly, we're going to start with some, I guess, generic questions that many people may not know about. But where in Jamaica are you from, Mr. Maxwell?
Born in Kingston and St. Andrew. St. Andrew, UE. Uptown youth. Never born under the captain said.
And which high school in Jamaica did you go to? I think that's a trick question.
Let's not. Wear that and with sleeve, hat, everything. Calabar. Always okay. Represent, no matter what.
Did you play sports for Calabar?
I was involved in track and field, you know, not football, right? Track and field. Oh. The only part 3 football would have been like interfarm. That's basically it.
Okay. And so how did you get involved in football from like a scouting perspective?
Okay. Firstly, a lot of people might know me as a scout, but people who know me from way back know me as a manager, right? Because that's basically how everything had happened, right? And that came about actually when I was actually doing some basic coaching too, right? Because I used to work at Air Jamaica. For those of you that are old enough that remember Air Jamaica, I used to work there, and my son was also going to Meadheaven Prep, and he was so in his football, not too bad. 1 year, and at grade 5, he didn't make the team, and I said, look here, we'll do some work with you, right? And I did some basic work. As I said, it's like what Stephen Francis doesn't run, but he one of the best coaches out there in that. So I did some work with him. I was also working at Swallowfield Primary and Junior High after, you know, studying. I took some time off from here, Jamaica. I was studying, and then I was asked to do their football team in the primary. It was the all-age league competition. So at that time, I was coaching their team, working with my son at Meadheaven Prep, and also managing the Meadheaven Prep program. A coach that was at Meadowbrook High School by the name of Damien. I remember Damien's last name right now, right? So excuse me if you hear that. But he saw me, and he saw the talented kids that I had under my jurisdiction. And I told him, hey, he made the offer that, look, Kasafa is having an under 12 competition coming up. And the kids that he saw me with, he said, look here, let's come together. He had a core from Meadowbrook High School, and he said, let me come together with your kids and let's put a team together and go to this club by the name of Meadheaven. And let's offer the owner at the time, David Hunt, that we can put this thing together and run it under his club. Well, I knew of Meadheaven, basically, as a fan, and I come from the area. So we met, we gave them the thing that that gentleman would be the coach, I would do the managerial aspect, scouting aspect for the team. And it worked fairly well in the organizational part, but at one day we had a disagreement before the season even started. And the coach made some remarks, right? Very disparaging at the time. And I said, no, we're not going any further with this. This club thing, not for me. And I left from the Meadowbrook High School field. Those of you that know it, they call it bottom field. And I started, I just said, okay, can't remember, I walked down the other day, I didn't drive down. I said, okay, just going to, I walked home. And I think behind me, remember if I walk, I drove the day, but behind me though was a troop of boys, ones who I carried, plus the ones from the Meadowbrook High School. They were all following me and said, boy, if I quit, everybody coming with me. So that
hold on.
showed me.
So hold on. So that was the first time that the team would have been entering a competition. So it didn't go any further than that.
No, listen. That year would have been. I'm going to give you the exact year. 2001. That would have been 1999 exactly. Right. I left. I didn't. We didn't enter. We went up by, and as we were leaving, David on drove up, and when he saw all of his team, his so-called team, because we were really good. We looked good, everything, we were playing good football, was leaving and walking away because I said, I'm done with it. First thing he did, was to, he took out the star player, right, his so-called star player, and took him away. And then he, tried to calm him down. And then he called me later on and tried to solve things between myself and the coach. And I said, boy, I don't know if I can work with this, but I'm somebody who I always try to, make some conciliation. And the coach and I, we worked it out and we went in the competition and the team went through the whole thing, beating everybody in the zone. And then after that, when we went in the interzone where we beat, I think it was Cavalier, we lost the first match. Those guys were losing because they were winning every match, 5, etc. But one of the things with that team was that at the time we didn't have a goalkeeper. And what David on teams used to do at the time was just get somebody, put them in the goal, and just train them. And we did that year, and we got knocked out. 2000, David took over the team by himself. That time the coach had left. And we did the same thing again, and it didn't work. So by 2001 now, same unit, because by this time it had changed from under 12 to under 13. So this set of players were players by the name of like Kemar Daly, Lennox Creary, those who know Dada. Creary was Kirk Duckworth, Dwayne Smith. All of these boys were there, and they were together for like 2 years losing. And then the third year now, what we did was I went by Calabar. And I linked the coach there because I saw him with a core also. I said, look here, let me bring in your core, about 4 or 5 players, right? And merge them with what we have and see if we can go over that hump. Because 2 years now, we're dominating our zone, but we're hitting that other hump when we're coming out. So we had a specialist goalkeeper now for once. And we had certain other specialist players, center half, so on. And we went through as normal. And we made the final and we went through.
I think we're having some issues there.
I'm good. I'm
Mr.
good.
Maxwell? Okay,
I'm good.
you froze. Yeah, but you froze for a minute.
Yeah, man. Anyway, so Real Mona had that thought at the time that they would have won. I can tell you a secret that a lot of people don't know, you know. At the time, my son had a choice that year because he was 13 in 2001, but he was always training at Real Mona. Because I said, Meadheaven was like a mixture of the Garrison youth and a couple of uptown youth. It was a mixture, it was a blend. And Real Mona was that uptown, all the better prep school kids went there. So he, of course, went with his friends to Real Mona. And during the whole season of preparation and so on, I'd asked him to come and join, but he said he didn't want to come. He's already at Real Mona. And I was also a Real Mona parent. I was a paid up Real Mona member, paid up everything. And I went to practice matches, everything. And Peter Moses never knew that I was the manager for Meadheaven until the finals. That's when he knew. Because every match, let me tell you what I used to do. I was at the start for the match for Meadheaven, and I used to set everything up, make sure I have everything is okay for them and all the administrative thing. And I'd get in my car, race up to Real Mona, catch at least I think that would have been the part of the match, halftime or whatever, and then leave that match up there to get back to Meadheaven daily, all the while. So nobody, you know, they noticed I always left for a little while, but everything I had somebody else that assisted and everything went okay. And when the finals came and Peter Moses saw one of his most dedicated parents coming out in the Meadheaven jersey, I think he could have fell down the day. I'll never forget it, you know. But it's just one of those things, you know. Of course, that was the first year Meadheaven won. And then after that, it was just roll.
So how long were you involved with Meadheaven from an administrative perspective?
Um, I was involved with Meadheaven up to, let me see now, 2004. 2004. Because I took a break in, I think, 2005. Yeah, 2004, 2005, I was there. And then I took a break for 1 year. And then I said I was going to actually form my own club because I had some issues with a coach that was there, not David Hunt, another coach. At the time, as I said, he made some disparaging remarks, and I said, hold on. By this time, you know, all the Meadheaven teams that were there, you know, I basically put them together from scratch. The players I went out, brought them in. I know the style of play that the coach wanted, so I bought the players to fit the style of play. So I knew from the start who was going to be the sweeper, who was going to say, I bought them in. So after a while, David basically only had to basically put them and tell them the roles, and that was it. It was simple. It was different than when we just started. You understand? He mentioned that himself, that everything is easy. But the year when I decided that, you know what, I'm going to take a break. All the years before, when you normally looked at the bench, you always saw a team for the following year, and you saw a strong bench. And I think that year, I remember I was there, and a parent whispered to somebody and said, hold on, you know, see something all right. Look on the bench. Maxwell not bring nobody in for next year, you know, something not go on. And I listened to heard him, and I smiled. I didn't say anything because I was already planning to take a break, you know. And of course, I made a move. I took a break the following, not even for a year really, because the following year I had gone by this gentleman that was in charge of Kasafa, I think it was at the time, named Rudolph Speed. And I
All right,
asked him,
hold on, Lena. Hold on before you reach that. Hold on before you reach that. So while you were at Meadheaven, you only worked with the junior teams,
only junior teams.
or you never had anything to do with the senior team?
Never interested in the senior team because for me, at the time, I normally I got better response dealing with the youngsters, right? And it was my passion basically. Because a lot of people don't know, I have an interest in serving. So if I didn't serve in football, I would have served in politics, right? Because I was asked at one stage recruited by one of the political parties. I was deep into it. And the gentleman that came and asked me to do it, they shot him on the pulpit at St. Richard's Primary and said, hold on there. We try work a thing for they were you them in another way. You understand? So that was basically it. You understand?
Okay. So you weren't interested in senior team. So while you were at Meadheaven, you only worked at Meadheaven at the time, right? You didn't work in any other club or any school or anything of the sort?
Nobody else. Oh no, the only thing at the time.
I know the Calabar thing would have been
Yeah, nobody else. Well, okay, hold on. No. At the time, I think the year when we won, that is also when I started scouting for schools indirectly. Because Kemar Daly, when I met him, I promised his mom that I would get him into school if he passed or not. I never get anybody in a school before. And I remember at the time, the most David Hunt could have gotten him into was Norman Manley, but I didn't like the idea there. And he didn't get through. And I remember I went by Calabar, and the person at the time, he told me, "Boy, him can't help me because, as I said, I wasn't known like that there." So he couldn't help me. Because he basically told me all sorts of horse that we had to give, and so I said, "No problem." I went by. At the time, I didn't know who else to check, so I went by Pembroke. That was where he passed out. Because there was another boy, Dwayne Williams. His name was Del Piero, right? Who also was placed back at the school that I was teaching at the time. Well, I had stopped teaching there by that time, right? And I said, look here, let me see if I can get the two of them into Pembroke and see if that, and then after that, I see if I can do something. And when I went down to Pembroke, I met the principal, and I told the principal to transfer me about. He thought I was coming to take somebody out when I was actually trying to get Dwayne Williams in there to stay with Kemar, because two of them were very close. And the principal, when he heard that I was trying to bring somebody, he said, okay, that's great. Because this year we had kids that got up to 3 passes in the CSEC and so on. And I think this is a good move for them. When I heard that with the 3 passes, I said, hold on. Interested in football and I'm thinking about me need my guys to have that academic part. So right away, I went up by JC. I don't know nobody for JC. But I took them reports, everything, and I went up and I talked to, not remember the white gentleman that was there at the time. And I told him, I would try to meet him. Went 1 day, I went 2 days, and I went by the 3rd day. I was sitting on this bench. I don't like sitting down and waiting. I'm not that type of person. But I went and I sat there, and then I spoke to also the coach. And after a while, they were training there, the team. And then one day I got this call from the office that they're going to take the 2 of them. And I'm going to tell you a secret.
Who was the coach at that time?
Remember, it's 2 of them, you know. Only one of them called and told me, thank you, Mr. Maxwell. One of them.
That's Dada?
Right? How you know?
So who was the coach at Jamaica at that time?
Yeah, man. Look here. This is the year when before everything started and I was going to leave. That youngster was the one that came up our house and in ball high water with that close. Of all of them, between Cavalier and Meadheaven, Kemar Daly and Siobhan Marsh. And there were 2 baby them that. 2 years.
We'll get to the Siobhan.
You know, we're not going that right now. But as I said,
we'll get to the Siobhan Marsh part. So you said that you took a break from Meadheaven and you went to Cassava. So tell us more about the journey from there.
Okay. I was thinking about getting this franchise. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember which franchise was at the time. And when I went to Mr. Speed, I think it was Red Hills. It was Red Hills franchise, right? And I went to him and he said, look here, it's going to cost a lot of money to do it and this and that. And I said, why don't come and help me? I have a youth programming, not too bad. I have a core at the time. Mr. Speed used to just go down by Arnett, get a lot of kids from the area and put them out there. But I never met him before because I think I played him in 1 practice match when I carried my team. I didn't even really remember. I just remember it was, I think, I don't. It was Cavalier, I think. I don't remember. But as I said, I played him in a competition with when the Cavalier, Meadheaven was getting ready for some tournament, and we used to use certain different teams to gauge where we were, and his team was supposed to be one of the lower teams. I don't remember how the match went. Really, I know we beat them because we always used to win our matches, right? But as I said, the first time I was meeting was then. So I told him, say, look here, if I'm going to come by you, I have full authority. In the higher end of the coach, that way, coach a team, I will deal with the financing, really, getting all the money, everything. So it's going to be my baby. Any players come, right? And if they are sold, because the idea now was to carry the David Hunt philosophy there. Because David Hunt's philosophy was he never have the money to put any team to go and buy players out there when he went to the Premier League, because the idea was always to start with a young team, build it, get them up to a certain standard, and then go into the Premier League. Coincidentally, when I had left, those players were just about going into the Premier League right around that period. That's just about that transition was being made. So I said, look, I was starting something new. I didn't carry anybody, really carry anybody. I think one parent came with me from Meadheaven. I never asked anybody to come, right? One parent, Patrick Palmer, right? Palmer Jr. came. His father also came to assist with the managing at Cavalier. And what I can tell you was that first year, Mr. Speed, I told him, was an under 13, under 15 he had. And I said, let me see who we have, and I will keep who I want. Anybody who I don't want, we'll send them to Constant Spring. At the time, Cavalier and Constant Spring had an arrangement with the venue that they would supply them with players and they would use a venue. So I said, okay. I said, no problem. I said, I'm going to have best of my players here. Anybody who I don't want, I send them to Constant Spring. So Mr. Speed, as I said, I had like 30 odd players. How many think I kept after I looked at all of them?
5.
2. One of them eventually made the national team, Romario Jones. So everybody else, I said no, because I had a little book. A lot of people talk about when they see me walk around with a knapsack and I have a book. That book always used to make notes of players I saw in various competitions, Corner League, anywhere I go. I looked at certain things that David Hunt had taught me. Because before, I have to say, everything I know about looking at certain things in players, I was taught by David. Right? That's Wagga Hunt.
Yeah,
so he taught me really looking for balance, that maturity. You know, there are a lot of things. I won't tell everything. But so I had that book. So when I went to Cavalier now to do the thing, I had a list of players, 30 now. So listen now, every year I always have that young team. So I never really were looking at players 15 or so, but I had some other players who I didn't carry to look at for Meadheaven that I said second string, and I took them and I said, okay. And I had there was this coach who I used to play all the while when I was at Meadheaven, and we used to beat him. But when I was beating everybody else 6 and 7 and 9, this man here was able to just get a 1 love and a 2 love. And I said, I went to him, his name was Mark Scotland. And I said, that's Scotland, I'm at Meadheaven now, Cavalier now, and I'm looking to bring in a coach. So the idea came up and I told him, and he came with another coach, and they brought in the two of them, Mark Scotland and Mark Buckland. Right, so one was doing the 15 and one was doing the 13. Right? What happened though was that Mr. Speed saw how the 13 looked. The 13 now, as I said, was that team that would have ended up at Meadheaven. It had a Zelana Barnes, a Chevon Marsh, a Romario Jones, right? This team here was stacked, right? Was stacked. I can tell you, Patrick Palmer was stacked from that early stage. And these guys, as I said, we were training from like January, right? So, Mr. Speed, when he saw the team, you know, everybody wanted the team, because I think at one stage, Buckland and Scotland, both of them wanted that team. But Mr. Speed, though, realizing the talent that is there, said, no, I want that team, you know. So I said, okay, we'll give you the team and so. Never really rate, I'm going to be honest, never rate Mr. Speed as a coach at that time, you know. But we say, okay, we work with you, right? Because I said, nobody can mess up with you. Most of my teams, I'm going to be honest, everybody know I don't give a lot of coaches that much ratings because the teams I normally assemble, if you are a decent coach, you should win every single time. I'm not lying. Every single time, and the coaches will tell you that. If Maxwell give you a team and you know win, something wrong. So anyway, that team first year they went and we I think it was the semi-finals. We had Real Mona. By this time, you know, Real Mona. I think when I took the time off was when Real Mona. I think that's when they actually won. They didn't win for years because between 1999 up to 2000, I think it was 5, they didn't win. But as soon as I left, and I think that 1 year break was when they were able to win, right? The year before. And then that year after would have been the second year. And as I said, I met them in the semis now. But they took the match and played the match as a night match. I think it was at Barbican, right? And the lights were good. And my guys never train at night at all. Real Mona used to train at night always, right? And I think the president was Stuart Stevens at the time now. I think that was, yeah, it was Stuart Stevens. It was at
So I'm not sure. I think Mr. Maxwell is having some internet issues. Let me know if you're hearing me. Let me know if you're hearing me. But I think Mr. Maxwell is having some internet issues. Let me know. Someone who's watching, just comment and let me know if you're hearing me. I think Mr. Maxwell is frozen. I think he's having some internet issues. So I'm going to have to give him a call. I think he's having some internet issues. Okay. But yeah, what Mr. Maxwell is frozen though. So it seems as if he's having some internet issues. So I'm gonna have to contact him. Yeah, big up to the people in the comment section. Yeah, big up, bro. Yeah, thanks for those who came in. People, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you have not yet subscribed to the channel. And share your thoughts down in the comment section. And say Maxwell freeze up like a black ice. Duke, me start a comment there, you know. Because I expected you to make some comment of this nature, Duke. So people, just give Mr. Maxwell a few minutes. He's having some internet issues. He'll be back shortly to continue to share his journey, of being in the scouting world. Yeah, man, respect, bro. So if you have any questions, you can always type the questions in the comment section, and I'll be sure to pose them to Mr. Maxwell. Big up, S Technique. Skip, big up. So let's give Mr. Maxwell a few minutes, and he will be back to continue. So big up the persons who tuned in, Magisha channel. Yeah, blessings, Fresh God. Big up, Fresh. Big up, bro. Much respect and thanks for passing through. When he come back, I'm going to ask him. When him come back, I'm going to ask him.
Yeah, you heard me?
So Maxwell, you back?
Yeah, no, the thing, hold on. I just want to know if you're not hearing any breeze, right?
No okay, breeze.
So my phone, something came up that my phone is overheating, you know.
Okay, no problem.
Close some of the apps and things, so I hope say everything okay. But just go on.
Yeah,
okay.
But you have to kind of put the fan to the side though, because it's blocking you.
It's blocking me same way?
Yeah, it's right in the frame.
How is it? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's perfect.
Yeah, man.
People themselves a flow internet they have this Maxwell.
No, man. Listen, the phone. It's something. Come on and say that the phone are overheat and things. So I don't know.
Yeah, okay, all right, no problem, no problem. Yeah, big up, Carrie, big up, bro. So yeah, continue. So you were talking about you were at the stage when you were saying um Cavalier, you were with Cavalier and you Mr. Speed was interested in coaching the under 13 team. So that's where you stop.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, that year they didn't once again for the first time they didn't win, but the following year that team went. All of those players went in the under 15. That under 15 that year now was that year when I think Harborview and I think Arnett recruited a whole heap of players for under 15 because what used to happen in those days was that teams used to bring team players from over Portmore and all about to augment their team, to strengthen the team. So Harborview had brought a whole heap of players over and transferred Waterhouse to. Cavalier, we didn't bring anybody in. We basically worked with that same team we had coming from the year before, right? One of our players, though, I remember, had been transferred to Waterhouse initially, and he came back, right? That player's name was Jason Wright. Okay? He had gone for, I don't remember what competition, it could have been under 17, and then he came back. Because at the time, what people used to do was just get a parental letter and transfer the players back. So what happened that year now was that Cavalier had a very young team, and Arnett and Harborview had some mature teams full of stars. Kasafa found out that there was an issue with how the players were transferred, and they said that every club, right, sorry, Jason Wright wasn't transferring back to us, they had transferred into Waterhouse. Sorry, we didn't even use him. So what happened now was that they said that every club that had a player that was transferred improperly were to lose the points. And I think what happened was that Waterhouse lost every point and they dropped out. Harborview and Arnett lost points, but they were still able to go through, right? What happened now was that Cavalier was in the position, quarterfinals, where Harborview, Arnett, and Cavalier and Santos was in that. I think it was could have been quarter, right? And we had, this is a secret now, this is hot. And I don't want to hear anybody tell me about match fixing. So at the time, the match with Arnett and Harborview was to be played, and Cavalier and Santos. Okay, I think we had drawn one match and won one match. And if we had drawn the next match, it would have taken out both Harborview and Arnett, no matter the result. I don't remember how it was going to be. But we had to draw, because I think Santos had to draw with, I think, one of them. So they only needed that draw. I don't remember exactly what it was they won, right? They had won. So if they got that 1 point from us, but we were not a team that would have lost to them. So what happened now was that a call was made, I won't say by who, and it was agreed between two people that, look here, we're going to play the match, but we just going to play the match. We're not going to injure nobody, because if we draw, both will go through. But also, both Harborview and Arnett will be knocked out. So anyway, we went with that, and the match was drawn. I can tell you, only the captain, I don't remember his name. It was he also captained JC after a while, Bertie, I can't remember Bertie's name. Conroy Johnson. Right?
Leader, hold on, leader.
The main forward at the time.
Leader, let me just stop you. Let me stop you, leader. Oh, ever you want to put that? That's not so technical. We just
That's
have to
what.
tell you. However you want to video that, that's not so ethical, right?
Anyway, that's something hot. It
Yeah.
gone in the past. It come up now. Anyway, so basically what happened now, during that match, all the players never knew enough. But the bench players were out there, and of course, I think the captain and one of the main forwards was he went to Anita. I don't remember him name right now, Michaelos Martin, right? Michaelos knew and the captain knew. Nobody else knew. Right? So what happened?
That's Michaelos Martin that went.
What's that?
That's Michaelos Martin that went to Charlie Smith.
Yeah, man. So Michaelos used to come all the way down to the 18-yard box and turn back with the ball. Never strive to score. And we had some other guys now could understand what are this foolishness him doing. And later on, when we put on the younger guys now, they are hungry. They're going for blood. So we saw all of them making some chances now to go score. And fortunately, they did score because we just keep our fingers crossed. Because, as I said, anyway, long story short, we went to the semifinals. I don't remember who we met. We beat them. And then we met Santos back in the finals. And that was the first title for Cavalier unit. That was the team of Marsh, Jones, etc. And after that, that team never lost again. They never lost a title playing for Cavalier. They never ever lost. Once they played as a unit. Never. They always played 1 year outside of the age and always won.
Okay. So you went to Cavalier after you left Meadheaven, you said, I think the Cavalier dominance started in terms of being one of the most dominant teams in youth football in Cavalier. Were you ever involved in recruiting players for their Premier League team?
Cavaliers?
Yeah.
Okay. The only time I assisted, because my idea was always to get the younger players going up. But the year when Cavalier went to the Premier League, Chevon Marsh was the player that took them there, but he was just, I think, 17 that year. So even though he scored the goal to set them speed, of course, went for some journeymen like Kevin Lamy and some other. I'm never in agreement with it at all. I told him that's a waste of time. But of course, I had to agree with him that the core of the youngsters that we had were really young. Because we talked about 17-year-old Marsh, and the rest of them were still in schoolboy football. And the coaches were discouraging them from playing Premier League. So I had to go ahead with it at that time. And I think the second year, they were still fairly young. Because that time now, we had gone to the Youth World Cup, right? That core Cavalier team, 8 players. Jamaica benefited. 8 players from Cavalier were on the last team that Jamaica qualified to go to a World Cup. 8 of them made up that team. But as I said, later on, he had to use other older players. And I remember I had gone for some players. What's the name of the captain? That's at Mount Pleasant there now, man. Left foot. Yeah, Masule Makala and another guy. They were at Portmore, and I remember
Price.
And Price. Yes, Clean Price. I know Clean. Right. I went for them. And believe me, let me tell you a thing. We have a band. Most players that I deal with, we always have that little band. Because I remember I needed some info sometime. And when I called Clean, I could have get everything. You understand? All of them always have that little band. We can always take that little band with them.
Okay,
right?
So let me ask you this. Who are some of the money top teams that you would have scouted players for?
Okay. It is well known.
Apart from Calabar, of course.
All the money cup teams that usually won usually had Cavalier players in them. Always. They were always packed somehow Cavalier. So when Georges had that dominance, it was the Cavalier players. When JC went on that run, it was the Cavalier players. And by the way, when we went to start to put players into JC, was when St. charges decided to start a club, more or less, in Central. And I said, hold on, if you're going to start a club, you're going to be biting on that video. So right away, we pulled it. And after that, charges never won again until I think the last player that they had would have been a player like the name of Alex Marshall that we had gotten them in at that time, but they never got anybody else after him. And he was the last player to carry them to some sort of dominance, but not Manning Cup.
Okay, so so many people would know this, but you before now or before this year, you would have scouted players to represent Jamaica at the youth level. Were you employed to the JFF to do that, or that's just something you did out of
okay
the heart?
From Jackie Walters was there, right? Jackie Walters knew me and knew what I could do, read, looking for players. So he used to tap into me and ask me about players. And I used to assist like that. After a while, I think, I don't know how Roy Simpson knew, but I know that Alvas Powell, and Alvas, anytime you see this, you owe me something, because Alvas was an unknown player. Nobody never know about Alvas Powell. And that year, when I told them that they needed a right back in the national team, and I went to my little book, and I said, you know what, there's this excellent right back out by St. Thomas, right, that I had seen from under 30, and I recommended him. And we did the research, and we found him, and we brought him in. He didn't even realize how he got into that team, right? I think he did after a while, but anyway.
That's the under 17 team that went to the World Cup, right?
Yeah, that same team. But before that, I used to have Jackie Walters with teams and so on. And also, that same year, apart from recommending Alvas to the team, I got a call one evening from Roy Simpson. I don't know how he got my number or what, but he called me and asking me that if I had a particular type of player. And I said, you know what, I have some players I can recommend. I'm going to send them. He wanted 2 wing backs. And I'm going to tell you something. There were 3 that I called. One of them lived all the way up by Bull Bay. The next one lived by Mountain View, and the next one was by Duane Park. One of them, the name of, that would have been, Jenkins, Shane Jenkins. He was the one that reached earliest. He reached by, that was when Jamaica was up by Shortwood, right?
Yeah.
He reached here early. The next one, Delanto Patija, I had to actually pick him up. And the third, Chad, I'm not sure Chad's last name. Chad was told by his coach, Ludlow Bernard at the time, that no worry, my youth, we'll get into the Jamaica side. He had to play some practice, man. And I told him, I said, look here, it's no guarantee that they're going to take you on, but if you play well, you never know. So, as I said, 2 of them went.
Question, Delanto Patija is Reds, right? That used to go to Excelsior.
No, that's not Reds. No. That's not Reds. That's not Reds. Reds was part of that super team too, but that's not Reds. Okay. He was one of the few that never make it. Himself and Siobhan Marsh, they were 2 of the few that never made that 2011 team. And I cry some of the time when I think of Siobhan Marsh not making it, because he was the best player of all the other players that were there. He captained them. Because the team that he played on that year, when the team went to the World Cup, we went to the under-17 finals. And let me tell you something. We won the finals with, I think it was 9 men. From in the first half, we were down to 9 men. Because
you guys beat Boys Town, I think, in that final.
Right. 9 men, we went to the final.
Ryan was keeping for Boys Town,
What's that?
I'm saying Ryan was keeping for Boys Town.
Oh, yes. That is so true. Right. That year, man, Boys Town do some things on the field and make one of the players get red card and one of the players do some madness. And so we had to take off some national players and we brought on some other players like a Ryan Miller and a London back to back of the thing. And I can tell you, that team, I never forget it, with 9 men, we outplayed, we outpossessed the ball, right? We had more possession of the ball than the other team. And Siobhan Marsh, he got an ankle injury and his foot was swollen big. And everybody was saying, Siobhan, you have to come up. And he said, no, I'm going to stay on because he's the captain, you know. And I think
he scored in that final as well.
He scored the winning goal. I don't remember how many goals won, but he scored that goal that took us, and then he came off after that. Look here, that kid is the toughest and most gutsiest player I have ever seen. Honestly. And even now, I think he deserves a look over some players that I see getting looking for Jamaica team. Believe me. You know, if where his country or his club, he give 110%. Always. He has got a raw deal for me. You know?
Yeah, so tell me something now. So this is a little bit controversial, but you can answer if you choose to. If not, we can. So there was a time when there was some sort of a rift between you and the Phoenix owner in terms of saying that you would try this with players and promise them games and those. How would you respond to that? I don't know if it's an allegation or a statement or whatever.
Okay, let me tell you that.
Because a lot of the players that you mentioned earlier, Messi Marsh, Jason Wright, Romario Williams, also claimed that.
Okay, let me just give you that, right? When Phoenix was started, right? The core of most of those young Phoenix players were coached by a player by the name of Bobby Green, right? And Siobhan Marsh. From they were 5 years old. I used to live in Meadheaven. I had a huge lawn. We had a scrimmage field with scrimmage goals on it. And they used to come down there, eat mangoes and play, right? So I knew all of them. That's one of the reasons why Siobhan Marsh never went anywhere else. As much as people used to pressure him. Yeah, I remember when David Hunt, when he was an under 13, he was trying to get into Calabar. Remember, no, he didn't pass. And Mr. Hunt pressured and said, boy, if you don't play, it's like you're not going to get the space. And I remember he stood up and told Mr. Hunt that, Mr. Hunt, I know Mr. Maxwell all my life. I am playing for Cavalier where he is, and we can't go anywhere else. Leon Bailey, Kevin Atkinson were also players that were playing on my front line. Right? The year when I went to Cavalier, when I used to be at Meadheaven, I used to stack it. When I used to say stack it, when we used to have training, we would have up to four squads of 30 at training at one stage. I never forget, near over 100. And I remember at one stage I told David, I said, David, what we're going to do? We're going to send them boys. He said, no, register all of them. Because if you register all of them, they can't play against you. Nobody can use them. And I remember Leon Bailey, Kevin Atkinson, they were actually registered that time at Meadheaven long time before. And then when I went to Cavalier, Bobby Green had offered me, Leon Bailey, to come to Cavalier. And I said, no, because I already had Siobhan Marsh, who was a left footer, and another player who was a Dini Black, who was 1 year younger. And I said, no, if I carried him there, he wouldn't get that amount of playing time, because I said, I would not do this, what I did at Meadheaven, by overstocking and stifling players like that, So I said, if I go have a team, we have a strong level, and then the next set of players are going to players that can play the next year, right? So I said no, and then Bob Green took him now to Craig, and Craig took them and he did wonders with them. Can't hide that, because Craig also has come out of the same stable as me, which is David Hunt, Meadheaven, as a player. So the same philosophy that David has also went with him. So both of we are almost sons of David. You see it a lot. You will talk about it, that David Hunt is his mentor. Both of us is our mentor. But we both took different ways in how we deal with things. Right? He went in the coaching, I went in the scouting managerial and putting them. So as I said, we went different ways. We never knew each other at the club because he was there at a different time from me as a player. Right? So when you always had this thing where Cavalier was dominating youth competitions. And when Phoenix started to grow, it was right around the time when Cavalier was also growing. But they weren't the powerhouse that Cavalier was. So they were almost like that Cinderella team. And then at the time, Casafa split the league into a Premier League and two lower leagues, parish league, so to speak. And at that time now was when Phoenix was able to do well in the lower league, but not the top league. Your volume.
That was when Steve became the president. He's the one
right, he was the one that did it.
Super 12 thing.
Right.
Had some
so
best
when that happened,
and then the other teams play together and they have like a relegation and promotion.
Right. So at the time, they were dominating that lower league. And the one time we ever came up against them was when they won the lower league, and then we met them, I think, in a semi-final. Was semi-final or quarter-final? I think it was semis. And we played at Duane Park and we beat them. They were, I think, a little younger than the team we had also. They were about the same age. I don't remember the team that we beat them with. But we had two players on there, two twins, Matthew Wilson and Jonathan Wilson, who were with Phoenix the year before and left to come to Cavalier, but I didn't recruit them. The father came to me and said,
Those two things went to Woolmers, right?
No, they went to
one went to Woolmers and one went to Georges.
St. George's.
Yeah. Oh, their older brother went to Woolmers.
Right, their older brother went to Woolmers, but they went to St. George's. Right, and at that time, we still had the agreement with St. George's. So that's how they got in. So all Cavalier players used to go to George's. Everybody. From a player for Cavaliers, a George's is going to Then after a while, when George's come with the thing with Central Kingston, everybody from Cavalier literally went to JC, KC.
Okay.
Then after a while, anyway.
So would you say you and Mr. Butler have a good relationship?
Well, let me
because and the reason why I said that is because he has said on public platforms already that you attempted to or try to coerce his players away from him to bring them to Cavalier. He said that.
Let me tell you something.
Public platforms already.
Most times, let me tell you something. The only player that I usually rate at Mr. Butler would have been Leon. I'm going to tell you, because most of the players, them honestly couldn't make Cavalier side. Never really have any much players that could have made Cavalier team. So I always say that. That would have never happened. And let me tell you, Mr. Butler, from time to time, talk good with me. Because at one stage when Mr. Butler was running for JFF president, who do you think that he approached to be his campaign manager? I never forget, we went by Marketplace, we had dinner, at lunch or whatever, and that was the plan, to put together something for him to run. And then after when it was, the numbers looked that he couldn't win, right? Seems would have been the person, was when he pulled. But yeah.
To be his campaign manager for the JFF president?
Yes, for the Casafa, to get deep support for him within Casafa. Yep, was me. Okay. So, but Mr. Butler is that type of person that him blow hot, him blow cold, him have, yes, various issues that I won't go into here. But I can tell you, he has developed Leon and Whisper very well, and I give him ratings, especially for Leon. Whisper, I think anybody could have done Whisper. But Leon, I know where he took Leon from. I'm always tell people, say, Craig Butler saved Leon. I'm going to rate him for that. I know Leon background. I'm going to tell you, I respect him for that.
Okay. I don't know why Ryan is laughing about. Probably some comment and tell me. So you in terms of
hold on, is about Ryan?
And I'm saying he's laughing. I don't know why he's laughing. But
yeah. You know, I would have let up the secret from Ryan. I used to manage Casafa teams, That's another thing I used to do.
I'm aware of that. So, okay, so in terms of moving forward now in terms of your whole journey, Now you are officially employed in the JFF as a regional scout. Can you tell us what that entails and what it's like?
Okay. Apart from being a regional scout, I'm the head scout in charge of everybody else also. So I coordinate reports from everybody else, carry them up to a couple of days ago, right as the hurricane passed. I never forget this. 8:50 in the morning, I got a call to put together, send a provisional list of 30 that were going to be registering for the under 14 competition. Unfortunately, normally the JFF would have been in problems. But because there are 4 regional scouts and we already had the academy, it was so easy to just 1-2 by 12 o'clock put together. Well, the hard part was to cut them down because we had more than enough players. So we had to do the coordination, and then now, of course, I couldn't get through to the guys in the West, but we did the work and submitted a list, and it went smoothly. And I think that so far this year, the difference, I don't know if you know how many youth teams has Jamaica sent away this year, by the way. I don't remember. How many?
I would say about 4.
Under 14, under 14,
when the Sweden came on,
under 18, under 17 has been put together.
20,
Yeah.
under 20. I think that's 4.
Under 20, and I can say I've had a hand in all of those teams. And I think this year is the first time that the JFF has been able to put out an under 14 and under 15 team traveling simultaneously, right, and be competitive overseas before. It has never been able to happen before, right? We have been able to tap into those players out there. And I can tell you, I think the JFM took Ryan's advice. Because I still have it recorded when Ryan had mentioned the JFM need to get Paul Maxwell involved because he's the best coach out there. I never forget it. I think that was one of the things, because at one stage I wasn't interested, but I kept hearing people like Ryan and other people saying, look here, this guy needs to serve. And I've always done it behind the scenes, like when they ask what getting in an official capacity. I love it. And as I said, I see where a lot of times a difference has been made between Jamaica having their team entered and not entered. Because I can tell you, on Wednesday, if what we had was not in place, there would have been disaster on Friday morning. You would have heard that Jamaica would have dropped out of another youth competition. Just leave it at that.
All right, so another question. So we know that you are involved with, well, mainly Cavalier. Know that you're involved with mainly Cavalier as well as other clubs, because I've known of players that move from Cavalier to other clubs or from other clubs to Unpleasant, in the case of Jamal Topi or Degree, who have transferred to other clubs who were integral in that role. How do you treat with the whole idea of people thinking that you are conflicting in your role as a scout as opposed to being able to select players fairly who are not affiliated to Cavalier or to clubs or schools that you work? How do you treat with that?
Okay, let me tell you now. Every player, right, that knows me, and I remember this one time, Ryan Miller tell me, boy, Mr. Maxwell, almost all of my players, them, I call them my players because people know who my players are. There's always that bond what we have. And if I call any one of them and say, look here, you X or Y, they jump. Because we have that bond. So I always try to help them. So if any of them need any advice, anything like that, and I'll do it. Don't matter which, if they're at another club. You understand? So the players that I do assist, players that have normally been, I know about at youth level. And I try to help them, because I see some deficiencies. And I'm going to want everybody in football with this story. This is hot. I am planning, I mentioned it to a player sometime back, that I think, look here, you guys need a union. You guys need some sort of a players union, right? And I think the final thing that I think I should do before I step back from football is to establish a players union in Jamaica so that all players are able to have some sort of a equal footing with salary caps and so on, and minimum salary to come out of the thing where they have now that they have some big discrepancies. So there are things that can happen, right? Like what you have in North America with salary caps, etc., and make it everybody get a livable basic wage and a maximum cap, so you don't have any big teams playing a lot of money and taking all of the talent, you know, that people want, and then no other players. So we need to have a salary cap. We need to have a players union, and I can say this now, hot. I will be that catalyst with some other players because I've already been doing it. We assisting players, we go into clubs and so on. Can do it for free. Because these players are looking like my sons. And you know, so when I help Toby, I know Toby from his 14. You understand? Right? One of my boys them that. Donovan Sipri, I know him, I know Donovan from down there almost about 8 years old. So you have to understand where all of these things go. And I have done similar things for my own sons. So that is why once I tell any player, I say, look here, if you have any negotiation going on with any club and you want me to give you a little advice and look over the contract, do it, give me, and let me see what I can do. Because I think there is a hole right now in football in Jamaica where they need a players union. And that now is where I think I am going to go next.
Okay, there's a question on the screen from Jason Luna. Big up, Jason. He says, with JFF going to more education for coaches, do you know if the same thing is being done for scouts?
Yes, it's being done also. Because okay, right now, what we have now, you know, is the platform that is there now, you know, is really good. It's diverse. There are 4 good scouts there. Plus, we have Stefan Aubrey, who is extremely a very good coach. He's also a national coach. A lot of people don't know that the head of academy is also the senior coach for a national team here in the Caribbean, right? Plus John Wall, who is also a part of it. So the continuing education that they also have for the coaches is one of the things they also have for the scouts. So one of the things I can say, everybody knows I've beaten the JFF in the past, but I have seen where this administration, they're not perfect, because I still have to beat them quietly sometimes with some little things when I see certain things go wrong. But this year, when I see things like the various things in line for the coaching education for coaches, for scouts, the exposure to a training base for youth players in a JFF academy that people used to ball for years, being put in place. That being put in place, and also we see the same thing, you know, being done with the youth teams. I've never had so many youth teams in training. Normally, when we're looking to put a team together, between the 6 weeks or so before, now when our under 14 team for August is being together, that team has been in training for how long? They have played matches already.
Okay, and there's another question. Who are the other scouts?
Keran Berry is one from the Central Region. Lee Croft Leckman is also one, and Marlon. Oh Lord, what's Marlon's last name? Forget the Marlon's last name right now. Sorry about that, Marlon. Name just.
Oh, so right? So the 4 of you are in charge of scouting. Is it scouting for the national academy or for youth teams, or it's a mixture?
Okay. It goes hand in hand, because once we do it for the academy, we are also tasked with doing it for all youth teams. Because the under 18 team that was done, all youth teams will basically select players for them. Nothing new.
Okay.
So now we have a
Okay.
system where no player should be left behind.
Okay. So, given that you have done extensive work with youth teams at club level, school level, have you ever thought about extending that to the senior team?
Um, you
Or
know,
is it something that you think you would do well as well?
I've been asked when I was at Meadheaven, and I've also even with the Cavalier senior team. Probably the closest that I might come to do it is with the current Cavalier senior team, because all of majority of those players are my players, are players that I carried in from that young age. So, you know, there's a bond there. Because what happens now is that most times when that player is promoted to the senior team, I normally say, hey, that's it. But you have some of them now, like you have some that they don't let go at all. They keep calling when they have little issues. We try to negotiate with the management, that sort of thing. So, but as I said, that's just how it is. As I said, there are some of them that are just my players and we have that bond. So when things not going right, I'm there. Mr. Speed knows too. So when things not going right, we call me and say, Mr. Maxwell, um, something not wrong with talk with him. Or so and so not passing the physical them enough. He might talk. Or, various things that they'll know. So I'll be that linkage with them. But most times I try to stay away, but the time, because a lot of people don't realize, I work in the media, I have a family and everything. So I'm involved in so many things. I can't do like what David Hunt did. David Hunt died very early. I am not going to make that happen. Right? So I try to limit it to a certain thing. So even though the Cavalier team is actually losing because the position I'm in now, you can't scout like what normally scouted. It's sensitive. You understand? I don't know if you understand what I mean. I
Yeah, man.
don't
Yeah,
want
man. Yeah, man. I
anybody
understand.
come across scouting to come to the club. I can't do it. You understand? So
Yeah, that's a question I wanted to ask you, doing in that given your current role as a national scout, if it makes your aspirations as like a club scout a little bit more difficult in terms of scouting players for Cavalier, other clubs, or to get them into other schools. Do you think you
okay, for schools it don't trouble anything because as I say, it don't make a difference. It's just giving a youth opportunity. Because far back as Kemar Daly be that first, what I can tell you is the amount is probably I can't say it's hundreds, it's probably more to close to 1,000. Because the amount of kids that I have gotten into school every year, I can't count them. And they're talking about between prep school, right, to high school. And it's so many that at one stage, if you come to a medieval or a cavalier, all of the boys are at traditional schools. And the reason is that we normally get them in. So almost anybody you want to see, most of those big stars that you can think about, the Alex Marshalls, the Chevron Marsh, anybody you want, almost anybody. Majority, 99% of them probably never pass with school. But we get them in and then make a use of the opportunity. For me, one of my proudest achievements, I can say it here, was when this player by the name of Dwayne Atkinson, I think I can talk it here. Dwayne, and every school principal or person at school must learn this. Not how they start off. Look at how they finish. Dwayne Atkinson, if you know of his grades when he got in Kingston College, right? No other school would have taken him. I think Dwayne got in sometime like the 40s or so. Low 40s. Very weak. And Dwayne, when he got his exam, I think he got either 4 or 5 passes. For me, that means more than anything else. You understand? Because most of the other guys, when I let them get in, they get with fairly 50s, whatever, right? But they're still low. But I remember Dwayne, I was nervous. But when I saw him get through and got the passing, I didn't even think his coach didn't even expect it. So for me, when these guys make the use the opportunity to get into the school, That's good enough for me. I always tell them, say, look here, when you get in, if you want to give up the football, no problem. Just make use of the opportunity when you get. That's it.
Okay, GK Mendes said we will need proper financing for our clubs. I guess he's talking about the salary cap in terms of.
Yeah, but look here. It can work. Look here. It can work. Here, it can work. If there are ways to do it, I won't discuss it here, but it can work.
Texicon is asking if Marlon is Marlon Nelson the scout that comes on these platforms.
Marlon, what? I never mentioned Marlon.
Yeah, man. You said you were giving the scout's name that you said Marlon, but he was actually the person that name is Nelson.
Oh no.
Chris Smith is saying, why can't we hear anything about the under 20? Everything is silent. You don't have to respond to that if you don't want.
Hold on. I didn't hear what you said a while ago.
No, Chris Smith is saying, leader, why can't we hear anything about the under 20? Everything is silent. I think he's talking
the under
about
20?
Yeah.
What? You want to give them something hot on the under 20? I'll leave it.
Sure, it's your choice.
Okay. What I can say on the under 20 here is that some big names, local and overseas, will not be there. Okay. Some big Premier League players that play the Premier League locally will not be on the team. And some big players from overseas that we had hoped to get will also not be there.
Well, I know that Ronaldo Barrett is injured, right? Injured?
Yeah.
Is it a serious injury that requires surgery or anything?
I can't go into the details. I just can say he won't be able to play in the under 20.
No, man, I know, but it doesn't seem as if he'll be able to play in the CONCACAF club.
I won't go into any further into that.
Okay. Well, I hope you have a speedy recovery.
He's back.
He's still going to Tidal?
He's eligible.
He's still eligible to play football.
He's eligible to play, just like Adrian Reed is eligible to play for 2 more years. Whether they are going back or not is something I won't discuss here.
I hope they don't go back still. I think those players would have.
Schoolboy more powerful enough.
Yeah, I know. I know about the schools and the high party, but I think in terms of their football development, I think it would serve them better to start playing the Premier League in September as opposed to waiting or late December. That's my view.
Well, what I can say, with one of them, I won't say which one of the biggest agents Jamaica has seen has that.
Leader, I'm not secret that, brother. Adrian Reed signed to Kevin Cohen, brother. I'm not secret that.
Kevin and I like people for doing them things that much.
Yeah, but Kevin is an agent.
Everybody don't know. Everybody don't know.
Mr. Kevin posted for them page, posted for them when they play. A lot of times people hear this question. I'm going to pose it to you. You have been in the footballing world for a very long time. How do you want to be remembered as an individual?
You know,
expertise in football and stuff.
Let me tell you something. At one stage, I had said that I wanted at least, the Casafa under 13 trophy.
Yeah.
I would have loved for that trophy to be in my honor, because I am the only person that has been, as an individual, winning that trophy more than anybody else. No other individual, coach or manager, has ever won that, and that has always been my base. So that little basic thing is the only thing. But apart from that, every little thing, if the thing there gets up with the players' union, I think that would be the feather in my cap, because I've always been interested, as I said, in helping individuals. I thought about politics, but I'm looking at it through the football aspect, and I see how I have helped a lot of kids. Because let me diverse a little bit, quick. back to when I just started. I remember when I just started, there was this kid that Mr. Speed had brought. Remember I said, most of them I got rid of. There was one kid in the under 15 that I never got rid of. I don't know why. But his whole demeanor, everything was just so good. But I never know until after a while that that kid was a little down in the area where he was from. Because every time I pick him up, I remember people, a year after him, they call him G-Strix. But he died after a while. And the same thing happened to another youngster that I had a goalkeeper too. And for me, I just want to know that I make a difference in some youngsters' lives and that later on, they can also do the same thing. Just like what I see you doing, making that difference for them. I still try as much as I can because I can say I never grew up poor. I was privileged, right? I wasn't rich, but as I say, even times when I've always helped kids, right? It's one thing. I'm only child, can't tell you that much. So I remember times when kids would come by a workplace and some boy are at training. And let me tell you this is the first time I tell anybody this. I remember one year in particular, right? A vehicle was down and thing. And now let me take my bus to go to train and thing, or get a ride. And I remember there was a day when a some players never have the bus the other day. And when they asked for some assistance and look in my pocket, and I had only money that could have assisted them. And what I did was I gave them the last fare I had. And I walked to Crossroads and get a ride, go. I never forget the day. Because the kids, they said they never have the fare. I would give them the last that I had the day. That is how I am. You understand? That is how I am.
Okay. Down to my last few questions now. So in terms of a lot of people have always said that I know that you are involved with a lot of players that went to Cavalier. In the last couple of years, a lot of players have transferred from Cavalier to go overseas club. But for some reason or the other, they always come back. First, yeah, give me some Maxwell a minute. He's having some challenges. Give him a. Yeah, you're back now?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So I'm saying in the last couple of years, a lot of players would have moved from Cavalier to go overseas. Ronaldo Webster, Atkinson, King, um, Colin Anderson, Nicholas Hamilton. A lot of players would have moved to go overseas and come back. And some of them, Trevor Marsh, I think he's been the longest one who has gone
Paris.
And has not come back. Paris.
Paris.
But there have been players who have gone and have returned. Do you think that the club system here you are a part of in terms of the scouting and whatever, do you think that we have done a good job at developing preparing the players for what is to come? Or you think yeah.
Nadia said that this one now. One of the things that we have to do, right, when we are developing our players is that we have to get them the schoolboy thing. Just when we discussed those two particular players, we have to get them out of that school environment, amateur environment, as quickly as possible. So if a player is serious about going professional, they must give up that last year of high school. If they do that extra year, and that is one thing that affected Alex Marshall. That extra year, Alex Marshall would have had such a great transition. He would have been that big signing because the German club that wanted him, really wanted him. But the first thing was that when Alex went, Alex's only experience was playing against players his own age. And that was a big issue. So when he went, they took him through some rigors that he wasn't used to. So we have had issues like that after with players, as I said, going, but the players who normally give up that last year and we get them for 3 years or more, you are going to start seeing now that success. When you see the Adrian Reed going, when you see the Adrian Reed, you see the name going right now.
Barrett is still can play again
Barrett,
too.
another one, right? When you also see Tally, right? There you have a number of them. When you see these guys going, that is when you are going to see, the difference, right? Because these guys are guys that are going to be guys that have come right through the whole thing. You understand? So that's when you're going to see the difference. Okay? That's when you're going to see that difference. This new set of players that basically have that amount of experience, 2, 3, 4 years Premier League experience. So when you see Adrian Reed playing with big men at this stage, it's a big difference. We have never had a player yet that we have had 2 years more of Manning Cup, And when this guy's played with big men, he was the MVP, by the way, for the Premier League finals. Right? So you have to understand that. Okay,
so you're saying now that the next crop of players who would have been exposed to a higher level of football from a younger age, if they should go overseas, they would have a better chance of progressing or staying.
well, I can tell you for sure you're going to see the difference. You understand? You are definitely going to see the difference with all of them, right? Because as I said, we have a core that is there now that have gone through a different process, and they have gone through a different route of speed in charge. You understand? And that is going to make a big difference for them. You understand? So that is one of the things that's going to make a difference, because I can tell you one of the things that they have as coaches to do is to improve players as they go along. And I know that a year ago, part of the duty that Mr. Speed had was to make a difference in Adrian Reed's development. And I remember I even wondered, I said, when he mentioned it first, I said, boy, Mr. Speed, you're taking a risk having Adrian playing starting. I said, no, he knows what he's doing. And when I saw Adrian last year in the Caribbean competition, I said, I remember when he came on, and the only reason is when I saw the number and I said, well, that looked like Adrian. Oh, well, which big man that? I don't know, but you saw the difference. So I can tell you, when Adrian makes that step overseas, he's ready, right? And I can tell you this, he's going to be that player, because right now he has shattered every record for a young player already. No player at his age has ever done what he has done at all those levels. He has already represented the country at under 14, under 15, under 17, under 20, under 23, and senior. No other player has done that. And let me tell you another little secret here. Hot off the press. Most times when I say I'm sticking around, right? Because I always say I'm going to take a break. I've been taking a little minor break. Those of you that watch it, please, I know what the Cavalier team them. They realize, say, Mr. Maxwell touched not so much on the team them of late, especially under 13 last year, because they went as far as the semis, right? But the time, normally I say, look here, when I certain players there, I stick around to see how they develop and how far. Adrian Reed is that one of those last players that I'm looking to see how far he goes. There's another one there now, what is 17, another 2 or so, but Adrian is one of those special players. Like, he's like the Kemar Daly and the Chevon Marsh. He's that next generation player that I want to see. If he can transcend. Kemar went as far as England, and he was the last Jamaican player before Whisper to play in England. Chevon Marsh played in overseas in
Finland. He played in Finland.
Finland, and he went in the USL now, right, and etc. But I want to see Adrian transcend all of them and be that next big player. That's one of the crowning glories from me now.
Okay, final 2 questions, because I promise you have our final 2 questions. Who's the best coach that you have ever worked with? Nobody tell me Speedy, brother.
No.
Okay.
I can't tell you that now. Hold on.
Okay.
That coach in Premier League never coach on my youth team them. Because at one stage I tell Mr. Speed, say, boy, Mr. Speed, we can't really trust in some of the team them, you know. Right? But that
Okay.
joke. No, he has done well with my teams, but he's not the best. The best coach, let me tell you the quick story on this one. This coach, Mr. Speed, called me in the office and introduced me to this player by the name of Lamar Morgan. He was a former player. And when he introduced me to the player and said he's going to make me work with under 13 team, I said, no problem, okay, I'll work with him. Because as I said, all my teams are stacked. But he was coaching for the first time. And I remember the day I was at work and somebody called me. I can't tell you, it's Alex Marshall's mother called me. I said, Mr. Maxwell, I don't like what this coach is doing, you know. It's like him flip-flop with the team, you know. And I left from my office today and I let go some class bad word to Lamar. I never really lose my cool, you know. I let go some, and then I think the next day, Lamar was in the office with myself and Mr. Speed. And him said, Mr. Speed, Mr. Maxwell, disrespect me, you know. And him said, boy, you know, it's either me or him, you know, when we have to go. And then I look at Lamar and say, really? And Mr. Speed said, well, Lamar, it was nice working with you. But let me tell you what happened. You see that same night, let me tell you what happened. We think called me. I think it's either him or me. One else called. And I said, almost every night, it was like as a girl me I talked to, every night on the phone, and I tell him what he was doing wrong. And so on. Lamar went to GC faster, did a course, and so on. And a year later, I remember I went to Mr. Speed and said, Mr. Speed, I have a coach under 13 this year now. Right? Because that year we had lost the under 13, of course. You understand? I have a coach, I want to work with that coach here. And he said, okay, Mr. Maxwell, who? I'm say, Lamar. And he look at me, Mr. Maxwell, now you run Lamar. He said, no. By this time, you know, I told Lamar, I gave him hints, what how he need to be act when he has a coach and so on and so. And I can tell you, when Lamar came back, he was a beast. This man started the game at a different level. And I can tell you, David Hunt is, for me, one of the best coaches. He is the only coach to win under 13, 15, and 17, you know, in Cassava. But Lamar Morgan is the only coach to have done it twice. And I can tell you, I rate him. He coached my son. I never forget it. And my son rated him to the ground. He was the person that Dwayne Atkins believed in. Lamar Morgan, for me, is probably the best coach I have worked with. The second best would be, let me see now. Even though he had a team, he worked with a young team, would have been Mark Scotland and Rudolph Speed Tye.
Okay.
But there have been a whole heap of coaches.
Which team is the best team you have ever assembled?
Oh, God. Okay, let me make it this way now. You say, I tell people all the while, you know, you say, when I say this now, everybody going to call. Because I'm going to call and say, no, you can't say this and that. But the team at Meadheaven that won in 2001, that particular team, was the best at the time. But that team that I worked with, that eventually went on to qualify Jamaica for that under-17 World Cup and won a title with 9 men on the field, with Siobhan Marsh, Zelana Barnes, Patrick Palmer, Romario Jones, right? Andre L.A. Lewis, oh my God, Ryan Miller, Alanda Brown, Nico Campbell, all of those are Reds, Javon, oh my God. That team, I think if that team was able to play Kamara Daly's team at the same time, I think they would have been able to beat them. I think that was the most complete team. Because when I saw it, unlike any other team, that team was made up of a lot of midfielders that were converted. So they played some of the best looking football. That team, okay, guys, everybody, tell yourself, they know some bias to Messi, or Messi team are the best team ever. Argument done.
Who is the best player I've ever scouted?
That one I won't answer.
Okay.
I can't. Okay, let me. I will answer it this way. Listen now. In the In the year 1990s, it would be Kamar Daly. In the 2000s, it would be this player that they call Blessed. I don't remember Blessed full name right now. He would have been that player.
Blessed from Augustone. From
Huh?
Augustone. From Augustone.
Yeah, Augustone. He did magic.
Blessed.
He did magic. Then after that, it would have been Chevron Messimash. Then after Chevron Messimash would have been, I would say, Ryan Miller. Can't leave out Miller. Miller did some things, but him underachieved. After Ryan Miller, Alex Marshall. Who can say? After Alex, has there been anybody since Alex? Let's see how Mr. Reed Jr. does. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, sorry, Mr. Atkinson. I can't say. Mr. Atkinson has been the game winner. But let's see how Mr. Reed does. Because right now, Mr. Adrian Reed ahead of everybody. Let's see.
Is there any player that you would have not like you would have seen this player, but you decide that you don't want to take him to your club?
Everybody knows.
It's the Leon Bailey, but is there any other player who you would have seen that you didn't want to take to your club, or at a later stage you thought you missed out on that?
No.
Okay. Sigmund was asking this question. Can you ask that if the JPL clubs take care of the players' living expenses if they leave high school at 16 and 17?
Go again. You lift the voice a little bit. I didn't hear.
I'm saying Cygnus Media is asking if the JPL clubs take care of players' living expense if they leave high school at 16 and 17.
Okay, hold on. A player, I'm going to tell a lot of JPL people this now. This is something I think only Cavalier knows. There are a few clubs. Once a player is 16, they can sign a professional contract with consent of their parents in the local country. This is why you hear of players in Brazil, etc., signing professional contracts there, because you can sign professional contracts in the country that you're at, but not outside. So this is something that they have players that sign professional contracts and are getting their money from early, right? Because the earliest one that we tried it out with was oh my gosh, I'm getting old, man. Tally, what's Tally's right name, man?
Atkinson?
Not Atkinson, man.
Ainsworth,
just for Ainsworth, right? Ainsworth signed his professional contract before he finished high school. He had 2 more years of high school and he signed to go pro. Because for me, there are players now. There's a player from JC now that's going to start training. I can let this out now. JC, that forward, you're not seeing him this year. He is going to be going pro because he's going to be starting training with us. Don't come down here to look and see Zoom. But we're already contacting him and he's going to be going pro.
Leader. Yeah, make the favorite man them vex, brother, because them love this football thing. Final question. What advice would you give to a young player who is desirous of making it pro?
Okay, if you're desirous of making it pro, right? Make sure from early, right? You have those bases. If you're not disciplined, you got training, right? You're not gonna make it, because when you're not disciplined to go training here and you go abroad, you're going to have those same indisciplined attitudes and it's going to make you slide right back. Just to say this, that a lot of players that come back is because of same indiscipline, not in behavior, maybe eating, pre-training, going back in shape, lots of things are what our players lose their contracts by. But let me just say one thing. King and Atkinson never lost a thing. They were always going on loan. So those people sometimes say that they come back. They were going on loan to be on the shop window to go further. So I don't like a lot of people to group those in. They never went as a permanent deal. Okay?
Okay.
But anybody, just make sure you're disciplined and start training with your Premier League team as early as possible. cut out the schoolboy football because it nah help you prepare you. It cannot. It cannot, because what the school football put in the habit of, it cannot fully prepare you to make that next step. So you have to make the sacrifice. I know that maybe the last year of your eligibility, you're just going to give up that one and go straight into the Premier League. And then go once you're 18 or more.
Okay. And on that note, we have come to the end of our conversation. Thank you, Mr. Maxwell, for taking the time out of your day. I know I promised to keep this conversation to an hour, but you know it was sometimes with the conversation we went 1 hour and 40 minutes. So, thank you for taking the time out to come and speak to us and to share your story. Is there any last words that you'd like to leave with the people?
Well, all I can say, everybody, just make sure, remember, keep your loved ones safe at all times. Always remember, family first. Remember that, right? Because when everything else gone, the only thing you can wrap back on is the family. You understand? Whether it's your family at the club or whatever, as close as it is, trust me, just try to keep the family close, because, like it or not, football can be very cruel. And in the end, when you look around, it's you and just maybe your family alone. So never neglect that aspect of it here. That's it.
Cool. Oh, one more thing before you leave. Which two teams will be relegated from the JPL this season?
Which two teams going what?
Will be relegated from the JPL this season.
Okay, what I will say is this way. I expect a team from, let me see now. Clarendon is in the what? What do you call that? What part of Jamaica that is?
Middlesex, Central.
Central, and somebody from the East.
East. Okay. Okay.
You know what the East is, right?
All right. Don't worry yourself. Don't worry yourself.
Because things not looking so well right there right now. But let's see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great weather. If you're here, I told you first.
All right, boss. Mr. Maxwell, much respect and much thanks for coming on. Later.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So, people, that was Mr. Paul Maxwell sharing his story there of how he started, in the world of scouting and sports administration. I hope that there were some lessons learned, and it will be a motivation for others to take up that mantle, because you always need persons who are dedicated within the administrative aspects of sports. Owen. Yeah, big up, bro. Leader says a team from Clarendon and Harborview get relegated. That's what him said. Good afternoon, Mrs. Knight. Thank you for joining and being a part of the conversation. But yeah, Jam PL fan, him say it's a team from Clarendon and Harborview is going to be relegated. Don't know what Jerry has to say about that. But people, thanks again for tuning in. Keep safe. We are in the hurricane season, so just do the necessary things to keep you and your family members safe. And we'll be back on Wednesday. People will be back on Wednesday at 6 with another interview. That is going to be an interesting one. So stay tuned. Give thanks.